that will likely make it impossible for Peter Obi to go into primaries with them and win. Others are saying it is money. So here is what Baba-Ahmed had to say about that.
I think the comment that Dr. Arlo made was not that Peter Obi shouldn't contest. The point he was making is that if you go through the conventional process of bringing out a candidate for a party, and that's the convention, not an anointing, not a handover, surrender to the ticket, Peter Obi is likely to lose. He used the word 100 times. I more or less agree with him. Vice President Atiku is head and shoulders better than all the other candidates in terms of emerging through a convention. Either he does this either through experience or he has wider spread, better structures and more loyal people. And he understands the mechanics of internal democratic politics, I think better than the others. I think Governor Peter Obi's people and himself are not helping his case. What he really needs to do, I think, is to go out and soil his boots. I think he's the most traveled politician I've seen in the recent time, and that's good for him. He tries to stay in touch with grassroots, which is good for him. But what he needs to do now is to really sit down with these people and come to terms with the fact that he is now running against hardline politicians who also have their eyes on the same thing that he has his eyes on. What Vice President Atiku did in terms of saying to his people, calm down, we don't want to start trading insults with each other, was the right thing. Peter Obi should do twice as much. I did a program 2-3 days ago where I mentioned the fact that Peter Obi would lose 100 conventions. You will be amazed at the number of people who commented and insulted me and said, oh, look at these people. How do they think Peter Obi will line up behind Atiku? I'm afraid in the democratic process, that's how it's done. Then you can have a consensus candidate, but you need to have the consensus of people like Atiku, maybe even Amechi, and maybe there are one or two dark horses who are working behind the scene. The point is that ADC's ticket is up for grabs, but it will be a very, very difficult task for anybody to get it other than President Atiku. So you have to choose. You can play your card and stay still within the party, but things like, if I don't get a ticket, I don't stay, or your supporters say, no, give him the ticket, convention or no convention, it has to be Obi. I think those things don't have a place in the democratic process.
So Peter Obi or nothing. That is the second coming of Peter Obi. The obedience says Peter Obi or nothing. But people are saying that, well, in the democratic setting, Peter Obi may have these grassroots, Gen Z, as well as this Gen Alphas and all of them who are pretty much rooting for him. But when you look at the process of candidate selection, there must be a convention. Even if there is a pre-concluded sort of like agreement, yeah, to say this is a person that we are all going to go out there and say is for him, but they still have to pretend that they're having a convention in that regard. And also, it also gives a better sort of like an outlook for the opposition to say, oh, we saw through the process of, for instance, in 2014 in Lagos. So they had the APC, Egbekebe's national convention, where they had to choose candidates. And among the contenders then were the Atikus of this world, Bokwari. And everybody knew then that if it comes to money, Bokwari won't have money to challenge Atiku. And that's exactly what played out. But what played out was more or less like an ambush for Atiku himself. Atiku was told to let Bokwari go. And he was like, no, they have to do a convention. And indeed, they were sharing, I won't forget to, they were sharing $5,000 to every delegate. Atiku said delegates. It was around that time that Rotimi Amechi, who later became the campaign director for Buhari's election there, right? So Amechi, as well as the Lagos State money, they had to put this money down in it to start paying over $3,000 to the same APC delegates in Lagos. But because these guys behind this scene have concluded that it has to be Buhari, Tinubu and others, it must be Buhari, they have to stop Atiku. So if similar thing is to play out in this year, it's going to play out in the next few months, right? So the idea of if they possibly beat Obi, like what happened to Were Wicked last time, so the obedience are like, no, it's not going to be vice president. So what Baba-Ahmed is saying is that in this thing, this journey that those of you who want to go and get rid of Tinubu, if you are to succeed, there should not be any form of like a finality, like it's either me or nobody else. It's advising. Another person that is also making a similar move like that of Atiku is Amechi. He is always the underdog. If you have noticed him, he's always been the underdog. I'm saying this because these are all the characters that are going to shape what is going to happen this year and next year. If you are following. Rotimi Amechi has been meeting with those they call the Buhari's political base. Is kind of like rejigging them to bring them on to his side in their ADC. And you cannot, by any means, downgrade Amechi in that sense. He was the guy who pulled the second number after Tinubu's stunt in 2022. And right now, he's jostling for it. And according to him as well, it's like he's not settling for vice president. But here is what Baba-Ahmed had to say. If ADC could pull a stunt, that could offset the base of or the permutation of Tinubu, then they probably should look into this too. Peter Obi, Amechi, young people is talking about young people. There's another one.
Stepping aside, so to speak, then in your opinion, what is the winning ticket? Is it the Obi Kwankwaso ticket that some people have been putting forward? And in all of this, do you think we are being a little bit too rash in dismissing the ambitions of Rotimi Amechi, who has been seen doing several engagements, especially in the north with various groups there, and many people are alleging that he's trying to re-engage the late President Buhari's base, so to speak. What's the winning ticket? And Amechi, is he the underrated underdog who might just emerge whilst the focus is on, Atiku and Obi?
Okay, we are now proceeding on the assumption that the impossible happens. That President Atiku says, okay, I give up my ambition to be president. So let's look at those who are clamoring to fly the ticket. You can settle the issue of who flies the flag even before the convention, but you need to go through the formalities of a convention. You have, and you should mention Rufai as well, even though he says his hat is not in the ring. But so you have Obi, you have Kwankwaso, if he does come in, because Kwankwaso hasn't, I'm not sure how much Kwankwaso has committed yet to the ADC, but let's assume he's there. Amechi is there, Rufai is there, the former governor of Osun State is there. There are quite a number of Nigerians who have fairly credible records of having held power and quite possibly could offer leadership. Then President Atiku could say, our best hope, for instance, is to say, why don't we produce an Igbo president? Obi is with us. If we combine his huge popularity with the Southeast and Igbo people, and the huge number of votes that he got in the North, largely because of, I think, the religious element was prominent in in the manner people responded in 2023. And then we go out to the country and say, let's try an Igbo president, elected Igbo president, because he's good, not just because he's Igbo president, because he has credible record as governor, and because if we do this, it will certainly be the catalyst for the defeat of APC. That's the kind of things that will go for an Igbo presidency. If it's not going to be Obi, then you have to look for somebody from the Southwest good enough to provide a competition to President Tinubu in the Southwest and in other parts of the country, and say it doesn't have to be a northerner who will take over from Tinubu, but we have somebody from the Southwest, someone who will do incredibly better than this presidency, which is allowing the country to drift and to sink deeper into insecurity and poverty and division. And so that you then have to look for a good person. Amechi would also have his own power base. He can be prepared to be sold to the rest of the country. His drawback would be that he was so closely aligned with Buhari. A lot of people will smell Buhari every time he passes by. So that's going to be his limitation. There is Tambol.
The combination. I understand all these people are throwing their can potentially throw their hat in the ring. But the combination, the presidential, vice presidential ticket for you that you think will really sweep the belly. What is the two names, please? Presidential, vice presidential candidates for ADC, all things being equal.
The one factor we haven't mentioned is this rather unfortunate but pervasive idea that there must be two terms for someone from the southern part of the country. If it's not Tinubu, it must be a southerner. And amazingly, it appears to have taken place. Taken its position in the mentality of our people. The North should not take the next 4 years. As if you have a northern candidate, it's entire northerners who are running. Because you asked, I'm responding in this manner because you asked the question about the number one and the number two. You can have a number one from the northern part of the country if it's the choice of the party and is good enough to be sold to the country, not only to the north but to the rest of the country. And then you can have somebody who run as his second, but he must also bring on board a huge number of southern votes.
Dr. Baba-Ahmed,
and if you do that,
Dr. Baba-Ahmed,
yes.
Let's save time.
Cool.
You can't answer that. Meanwhile, behind all of that talk is the strong belief in northern part of Nigeria among their elites that so what is wrong if the northern takes over from Tinubu? So what? Their line of argument has been that if Nigeria has practiced democracy for 26 years, nearly 27 years or so, 26 years. And the Southerners have ruled, Obasanjo did 8 years, Jonathan did 5, Tinubu is now doing 4. So when you add them together, it's like 17 out of 26, so which means the Northerners have only spent 9 years in power. 9.5 years. That's the argument, though, not me. It's the argument. So that is why if you listen to them talk about how the general belief is that since the Southerners are there now, so they have to complete their second term, this idea didn't think it's quite right. But in the absence of all of that, I just can't give you who can be president or vice president. But everything else is spoke about, how their election process is going to happen. Here is this analyst. His name is Laboros, advising the obedience to let them know that this is like a big boys game now. This is not just Labour Party, Obi and his own influence. So if he's going to be able to beat all these guys, to the tickets, then he would have to do the real work.
And fought between Dele Momodu and then the Obedient Movement on the ticket of the ADC, where it should go to. Some persons have argued it should go to Obi. Others have said, look, Atiku is the best to get it. And, Fayose has even come out to say Obi is their best bet for now. But anyway, that's a topic for another day, because Fayose is saying the Tinubu man. So you now begin to wonder what the concern the ticket of the ADC. Abi, in the taste style, they believe, say, okay, if they give this person, Tinubu go defeat them, or if they give that person. Anyway, we'll discuss that one some other time. So, but the issue really I want to ask now is primaries. Primaries, no be tea party, no be just dollar, no be just money. Primaries had to do with people. Obi has moved into ADC. Who is he bringing from the Southeast? Which of the strong politicians in the Southeast that will be delegate is he carrying along with him? That he don't drag enter there. Atiku also has been able to bring in people from the North. Some by all the Erufais and others, the Malamis, them, all those people, Atiku is bringing them. The Babache Lawa, Atiku is bringing all these people into the fold. So these are the people that will form the bulk of the delegates. Aregbesola is positioning himself to become this leader of that party in the Southwest. So anybody when need ticket for Southwestern, certainly will go meet Aregbesola. What that man, that one also mean. They are Boredu, Labour Party that time. So all of this, we heard that Peter Obi moved 5,000 people from Southeast register. Who are these 5,000 people? Are they people who are likely going to be delegate? Because you need to win primaries first, though, before you go fit the talk of the actual voting. So those are the issues. How many of these super politicians that become delegate has he moved into ADC? We need to encourage, this movement, because you need to cross the hurdle of the primaries before you begin to talk about presidential election. Because the ticket you need to get up, it won't be given to you on a platter of gold. And mind you, say this party serve alternative. Atiku actually give it to him, actually put it together, brought them. So, not be by force. There's no need threatening. Not beg to beg him, if you go understand, and use that in political structure to assist. But to insist and then they force say, no. I'm not sure say it go work. And also listen to Tambua talking about numbers. So all of these things will have to be part of those things that the opposition will reckon with in fighting or slugging it out with Tinubu for 2027. Me, I just give advice when nobody requests me for, because I just think calm, I go be, so that tomorrow nobody will say it was dollarized. Now people, now they make political party.
Yeah, that's fair enough. The obedience are not stupid. I need you to know that. And they have every right to be suspicious of the abracadabra. They have their own suspicions too. They understand what happened that led to Peter Obi's leaving the PDP at the time. A lot of them also have the record of how not just Tinubu APC that tampered with their votes in 2023. A lot of the obedience also have the evidence of how the Atiku's men in the states where they held sway managed to also steal Obi's votes and all that. So they are not trusting them. And that's an issue. That's a problem, And that's why some people are believing that if, for any reason, Atiku becomes the presidential candidate of the ADC, it is going to take a lot to convince the Obi's supporter that it is legit. It's going to take a lot. There are others who believe that there's no point in beating around the bush. This is somebody that they strongly believes could command the suitable number of people without having to bribe them. Support him, that's Obi. So if these guys are interested in saving Nigeria, why can't they just put their own weight in areas where Obi's own weight is quite weak and balance it up in a way to get rid of the Tinubu? Atiku's men are not thinking like that. To them, right, Peter Obi doesn't have what it takes to face Tinubu.